If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I think it's pretty fair to question whether I know anything at all about advertising. But there is one area where I am absolutely, positively, and unequivocally an absolute expert, and that is crappy football. I am a New York Jets fan, a historically bad football team, and I think there's a lot that great brands can learn from my crappy football team.
3, 2, 1, go!
I studied the New York Jets absolutely minimum an hour a day, every single day of the year, including the offseason. My point is, I know a lot about this team. And let me put this in context about how bad they are before we can get into the lessons about what we can all learn. The chances of an NFL football team making the playoffs are almost 50%. Every single year, 14 teams make the playoffs. The New York Jets have not made the playoffs in 14 years. All things being equal, do you know what the percentage chance of missing the playoffs 14 years in a row are? It's 0.32%. It rounds down to zero. It's almost impossible for a team to miss the playoffs 14 years in a row. And the good news is I know a decent amount about football. I grew up playing it. I'm a total football nerd. I'm a total math nerd. And I look at it a lot from a statistical standpoint. And I think for brands that want to win, that want to go to their version of the playoffs every year, that want to win the championship game, there's a couple of massive lessons. The first one that I'm going to dive into is this. Hope is not a strategy. There is now more data and more information on this planet than ever before. Some absolute geniuses, I think from MIT, figured this out. There is more data circling this planet than grains of sand on the beach. The issue isn't whether or not brands or football teams have access to the data. The question is, are they listening to the data and are they taking action based upon the data? And I know for most people, data is not a lot of fun. So not only does it provide a competitive advantage to get really good at leveraging data, the truth of the matter is most people in most teams don't really like it. So there's a massive opportunity to find that white space where we can leverage the data that we have, turn it into insights while our competition is still asleep at the wheel. The Jets are very specifically asleep at the wheel. And they keep making one error. And the error is this. They keep bringing on football players who are way past their prime. The obvious example is Aaron Rodgers. And any even casual fan knows this one, but he came to the Jets over the past couple of years. His very first season, he did not throw one single regular season pass. Not one. Tens of millions of dollars invested, and he didn't survive to throw a single pass because his Achilles tendon blew out on the first set of offensive downs. Now, injuries happen in football. It's sad, it's frustrating, it's a bummer, but they happen at a fundamentally higher rate amongst older players. There have been, let's say, ballpark 800, let's round it to 1,000 NFL starting quarterbacks since the start of the NFL. Do you know how many of those guys have been 40 or older in 1, 2 playoff games? 1. Tom Brady. That's it. Nobody else has even come close. Vinny Testaverde won 1, Drew Brees won 1, and nobody else has succeeded, not even Joe Montana. And Tom Brady is an anomaly in every single component of his life, right down to the food he consumes and the way he trains for football. There's never been anyone like him at the quarterback position. So the point is this. 1 out of 1,000 NFL quarterbacks over 40 have succeeded. And this injury to Aaron Rodgers happened right before his 40th birthday, right at the beginning of the duration of his contract. Mathematically speaking, if you're listening to the data, there is absolutely no chance that he would succeed. But what did the Jets do? They didn't listen because they think hope is a strategy. And you can say, look, they've built a great team. They took a swing at this pitch. It didn't really work, but it's a pattern that they've established. I've got a list here. They signed guys like Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Corey Davis, Michael Williams, Carl Lawson, CJ Uzoma. All of these guys were in their 30s, and it's just a small portion of them, and all of them failed. And I don't work in football, but the statistics are right there available to us. If you look at a 33-year-old, which was the minimum age of a few of these guys, you play at 74% of your capabilities compared to when you were 26. You were 35% more likely to get injured. This isn't a sport where almost every single game on average is settled by one score or less. This is a game, this is a league where it's only a few percentage points difference between the championship games and the middle of the pack games, which is the same as whatever industry you're in. We are all fighting for very small percentages of a competitive advantage. So what do the Jets do? They've got access to all the same data as the Chiefs and all the same data as the Buccaneers and all the same data as the Patriots and all these teams that have been winning Super Bowls. But they don't listen, right? So here's the takeaway. Hope is not a strategy. We need to leverage all of the data that we have available to ourselves. First of all, every single person on a team has to be comfortable around data. If they're not comfortable around data, they're not going to have a great career in marketing and advertising. It doesn't matter if their job historically is not about data. They might be in project management. They might be a copywriter. They might be an art director. They might be a video editor. We are desperately fighting to capture people's attention. They're exposed to 5,000 branded messages every single day. They've got a better chance of surviving a plane crash than clicking on a banner ad. We are fighting tooth and nail for every percentage point of success. We have to hire people who are comfortable around data and continue to hone that skill for them. The second thing is we need to heavily invest in a data and insights team. Data is one thing. Nobody needs more data. There's a very good chance that we're going to get paralysis by analysis simply by the fact that there's way too much data out there. What we need to do is take that data, triangulate it, turn it into insights, and then turn those insights into a story so that we can take action on the agency side, on the brand side, in every single department. And then that story can lead to absolutely breakthrough work that carries people through their entire journey. And then the third thing is we need processes. We need processes and systems. We need to leverage the latest and greatest technology, the latest and greatest artificial intelligence, and we need to create documented processes that enable us to optimize the way that we use these tools and optimize the way that we share the information that comes out of these tools. It's not enough just to have people who are comfortable with data, and it's not enough to just have people who are great at turning the data into insights. You need the processes and systems to make sure that everybody is aligned on what that data is telling us. Sometimes it means good old-fashioned human collaboration. And sometimes it means that we're using cloud-based or AI or generative AI tools to fully leverage the data out there. That's the definition of great culture. It's a combination of great people and great processes. And those great people and those great processes enable everybody on the team to do their best work. So returning back to the Jets, what do? They had all that data available, and then they just ignored it. It doesn't matter that these players are way diminished in their capabilities by the time they're in their 30s. It doesn't matter that they're way more likely to get injured by the time they're in their 30s. They had access to the data. They ignored it. And when they ignored that data, they turned into the most futile team, perhaps in NFL history, with almost a 0% chance of missing the playoffs for 14 straight years, but they pulled it off. So your data right now is probably telling you a few things. Your aided recall, your general awareness, is probably pretty good. Your unaided recall, meaning open-ended, how much are you top of mind? it's probably dropping precipitously from aided recall. That mid-funnel metric of what makes you different, what makes you better, what does your brand stand for, what do you truly believe in, it's probably negligible because you're probably competing very much at the top of the funnel and very much at the bottom of the funnel. And then if you look at the metrics for the top of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel, yes, you're getting a little bit better, a few percentage points here and there, better creative, better media planning. But when you start leveraging the entire journey, when you start looking at every single moment that matters, when you start telling a story on a one-to-one basis, using the data to identify those moments that matter, then using the data to optimize whatever you're testing into and continue to improve it, that's when you can get profound results. We've seen by using data to optimize the top of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel, most agencies and most brands, they might be able to see a 5% improvement, a 10% improvement, a 15% improvement is awesome. But when you start finding the moments that matter, when you start leveraging the entire journey, that's when you get profound results. That's when you literally start doubling your overall performance. That's when you start turning marketing and advertising into a true growth engine, both in the short term with your lower funnel efforts and in the long term with your upper and mid funnel metrics. So the bottom line is this: invest in the people, invest in the processes, create that great culture that enables everyone to leverage and optimize the way that data is used, unlike my incredibly crappy football team. Here's another big point. Not all data is quantifiable. I was raised on it. I was raised conducting qualitative and quantitative research, and there's a time and a place for both. Very often, the insights are going to come from qualitative research, ethnographic research, IDIs, in-depth interviews, focus groups, informal research, tearing through the millions of posts that are sitting there on Reddit, which are very qualitative and because the volume can actually be quantified. But the bottom line is very often you're going to have a breakdown in the journey that isn't necessarily going to be about your paid media. Very often it's about your owned and earned media. I think as consumers, as well as executives, we've all seen great campaigns that might take us to a landing page, but the landing page is broken, or the shopping cart is broken, or we're trying to sell financial services or travel and hospitality and the entire enrollment is broken. There's both macro friction and micro friction in the journey, and we need qualitative research and our ability to listen to that qualitative research to make those changes. And the reason that I bring it up is if you're driving in the car right now, pull on over, check out some of the B-roll here, because here's an amazing thing that the Jets did. They brought on a coach named Adam Gase. Adam Gase turned out to be one of the worst football coaches in world history. And what happened is he was hired during the COVID era, so I can kind of understand how this may have happened. I think he was interviewed on Zoom. Supposedly, he's a really smart guy. Supposedly, he's a great guy. I would assume if he was going to be a stockbroker, a school teacher, a data analyst, and maybe even like an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach, he could be great. But he gave the opening press conference for the New York Jets. And instantly, anybody, anybody, anybody with absolutely no understanding of football can instantaneously see this guy is not a leader of men. And in particular, he's not a leader of 240-pound, muscle-bound men who build their careers smashing their heads into other people. Pull over in your car, check out the video, check out these crazy googly eyes. You can instantly see this is not going to work. That's not hard quantifiable research. That's qualitative research, right? Go look at something that you're working on. Don't show it to your 26-year-old brilliant niece who lives in Brooklyn and spends her entire life online. Show it to your crazy Aunt Joan, the one who's got that discretionary income. She's on Facebook and social media all day long. And if you think there's something broken in your website, your app, your content, your clarity of your message, show it to her. And if she's confused, that's one hell of a data point. And of course, even better, conduct some very formal qualitative research. But the point is, you don't always need to have a number and a percentage sign next to every piece of input. The Jets could see in Adam Gase that this guy is fundamentally flawed as a leader of men, and there's going to be parts of your journey with your brand, mine also, I'm not pointing fingers here, where there are fundamental flaws here. And you have to listen to not just the quantitative research that we were talking about earlier, but the very obvious in qualitative research. And to be clear, the performance from Adam Gase is highly quantifiable. Over 2 years, he went 9-23, losing just about 3 out of every 4 football games he ever coached. And any casual fan could see that coming from a mile away. Now, pivoting over, if hope is not a strategy, is the first and foremost learning from the New York Jets. The second is this: it's culture and staying on message with that culture. So Robert Saleh was a very successful defensive coordinator for the 49ers. He came over to the Jets. They just fired him mid-season. He was an absolute failure. I think he's got a bright future. A lot of these first-time coaches fail, even Pete Carroll, even Bill Belichick, 2 guys that are definitely going to the Hall of Fame. I like this guy. But he was a failure as a New York Jets coach. And once again, there's an opportunity for great brands to learn from my crappy football team. And I think a lot of the mistakes that we've been talking about so far on the quantitative side, on listening to the data, that comes from the front office. But this mistake actually comes from the coach, from Robert Saleh, and it's about building culture. When he started with the Jets, he had this phrase: all gas, no brakes. And is it a little over the top? Sure. Is it a little cheesy? Sure. But it's NFL football, and the guys absolutely loved it. Who doesn't want that? If you're a competitive athlete, if you're 240 pounds of rippling muscle and you run a 4.640, yeah, all gas, no brakes. They want to play fast. They want to play aggressive. They want to hit. But the issue is they didn't have a good first season, which makes all the sense in the world. They've got a new coach. Every single time a team brings on a new coach, they have a tough first season. There's a reason they brought on a new coach, which is the team isn't that great. All great brands sit on an exponential curve. And everybody thinks about that exponential curve when it starts pointing upwards and it's going straight up like a rocket. But the truth of the matter is, with all great brands, and you could look at the stock price if you want to graph it, if you look at Nike in their heyday, Apple in their heyday, if you look at NVIDIA right now, there's a flat part of that exponential curve. So Robert Saleh's got this great tagline: all gas, no brakes. Doesn't work the first year. So instead of sticking with it, staying on brand, staying on message, he falls victim to the negativity. Of course, there's going to be negativity when you don't win the first year. Of course, there's going to be negativity when you play in New York and you're playing under a microscope with a major media outlet that it is. And then he changes it in the second year. Positive vibes only. And there's 2 fundamental problems with positive vibes only, which is one: why are you changing? Stick to what you're trying to accomplish. All gas, no brakes. We're going to play hard. We're going to play fast. We're going to hit. We're going to take the game to them. We're not going to let them take it to us. If you look at all the great brands in the history of the world, they don't change their core message. They don't change their tagline every few years, and they certainly don't do it every year. Nike has been working just do it for 35 years. When they came up with that tagline, that company had a valuation of $400 million. Now its market cap is $114 billion. That is one of the benefits of staying on message. So what did they do with the New York Jets? They heard the little voices, they changed their message, and they went to something totally different: positive vibes only. So now what does your brand stand for? If it starts changing every year, how do you find the right people for your team? And how do you give them the core message of what you're trying to accomplish if you change gears fundamentally every year? And then there's another issue: positive vibes only. Can I just say, that's a shitty line. That's a shitty mantra for any business. Yeah, do you want things positive? Absolutely. Do you want to take care of culture and make sure that everybody feels inspired and empowered? Do you want to build a strong team rather than a set of individuals? Of course. But why in business does everything need to be all about positive vibes all the time? I think the best companies in the world, I think the best people in the world, yes, they want positive vibes, but they don't want positive vibes only. They want to be pushed and they want to push each other to do their absolute best work. I think in the world of marketing and advertising, we should all strive to create work and campaigns that people will remember 30 years from now. 50 years from now, 100 years from now. I can turn to things that I've seen done by our team. And without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, 100 years from now, people can look back at those campaigns and be like, holy shit, that was awesome. Will the trends change? Will the technology be stronger? Absolutely. But the core of the DNA, these are timeless ideas, and that's what we should be striving for. So I'm not saying that great culture shouldn't be about positivity. We, as an agency, only hire naturally positive people. It's literally part of our process in terms of who we bring on. But positive vibes only, I think the world is getting softer by the second. And I think the teams that say, look, we want the positive vibes, but we're also looking for people who want to be competitive as hell, competitive with themselves, competitive with each other. I'm not saying we need to go old school or yelling and screaming and fighting each other. That shit sucks. But pushing each other to say, look, I've seen your best work. What you're putting out right now is really good, but there's another level that you can get to. I don't think that's necessarily positive vibes all the time. Sometimes it's like saying, hey, man, come on, let's do this. Let's push ourselves. Let's get everything to the next level. Let's be the best we can be. Let's dominate the competition. So in summary, with Robert Saleh, he just made this massive mistake of saying, look, I've got a strong line. I lost patience with it. I got rid of it. So now our brand doesn't stand for anything because we're changing all the time. And then we decided because we faced some adversity that we're going to say we only accept positive vibes. And that is ludicrous. And it's in particular ludicrous for a pro football team. There are certain industries that need to lean more into that snuggly factor, more into that positive vibes. But in particular, NFL football team, that is just way off the mark. So the bottom line is this. There's a lot that great brands can learn from my absolutely historically crappy football team. And the two big lessons for today are one, hope is not a strategy. You have to listen to the data. You have to have the team and the processes in place to leverage that data and maximize performance. And the second thing is you need to have a core message and stay true to that core message year in, year out, because that is how great brands are built, not just externally, but internally as well. And that's it for today. Thanks for joining me on Brand Champions.
Brand Champions is a QUESTUS production. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and review wherever you tune in. You can submit mailbag questions to brandchampions@questus.com.